Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be showing you how to build this tree farm. It's based off of the module design I posted earlier on Reddit. Today we'll be building the 4 module version. Here you can see to use it, all we do is place the saplings, turn on a clock to fire off the bone meal, and voila, we have wood. So here you can see the materials for only the tree farm modules. In the top row is the amount for 1 module, and the second row is for another 3. So just pause the video if you didn't quite catch that. I'm going to build this in a modular way so that you only need to follow the tutorial for the parts that you aren't quite sure of. Here I'm just organizing my toolbar based on the things I'm going to use first. Now I'm building it 1 level off the ground because later I'm going to have to face an observer downward, and if I build it on the same layer, I'll just have to dig down another layer, which is not particularly useful when you're building on a platform in the sky. Here, I'm putting down the rails used in the clock. You could put observers down too, but I prefer rails because then all observers are linked onto the same timing. It prevents wasting bone meal. And note, I am building this in survival mode to make sure that anyone following this tutorial is actually able to follow it effectively. Here I'm going to build at least 12 blocks out. You can choose how many to do, but 12 is about the optimal amount since that's the furthest the pistons will be able to push any trees that you grow. You will want a platform though, so that when you are harvesting your trees, the logs don't end up in the hoppers that supply the bone meal. Here's those downward facing observers I mentioned earlier. Stabilizer circuit that I use a lot because it is highly responsive. Basically, 0 latency between when an observer detects something and when an action is performed. 0 added latency, I should say. One of the reasons why I switched to it is because I found that repeaters could lock up for the most random reasons, just a little bit of server lag. And observers don't seem to do that, especially because by default the circuit is in an armed state, and it will always return to that armed state unless it is interfered with by an external redstone source. Here I'm placing the glass 1 block above where the pistons will end. This is 7 blocks above the grass. This is because I don't want any of the trees to grow branches and block the other growth paths. And the final piece is just a bit of redstone to make sure the bone meal supply can stay on. Obviously, this circuit isn't quite ready yet. There's a few more steps to complete, but all the other parts are not specific to my design and can be used anywhere, or feel free to swap in whatever design you like. At this point, though, the tree module tutorial is over, and only stay along if you're just looking for a simple farm implementation. Now we're going to work on supplying bone meal to our farm. Now you'll notice I only have one rail system connected to the supply of dispensers, but you could actually add nearly as many as you want. It just means increasing the number of hoppers you use per module and increasing the number of carts you use. But especially if you plan to use this a lot, you'll probably at some point look at expanding the number of rails actually in use. These blocks do not necessarily need to be glass, but I prefer to make them glass to isolate them from other redstone circuits. And this can also be a hopper minecart instead of a chest minecart. But then you have the problem of accidentally picking up logs through the floor and putting them into your dispensers, which is not an ideal result. Now we're going to add a hopper clock to send the chest minecart back and forth. I cheated a little and put down some scaffolding ahead of time, as you'll see in a moment. This is just so I have a flat surface to build my hopper clock on. If you've ever built a hopper clock, I'm not doing anything special here, so you can skip ahead. The items placed in the hopper just provide the timing needed for the circuit, and now I'm just testing to make sure that I added the correct number of blocks. And as you can see, I did not. The chest will not keep going back and forth. I am amused that I tried so many times to make this work before I adjusted the timing. But I just wanted to be sure. Yeah, it's definitely not right. So I just removed one block. And now we'll see the timing is perfect. Finally, we need to add a clock for the bone meal dispensers, because otherwise they won't dispense bone meal on the saplings and we won't grow any trees. I'm going to use the simple repeater clock that Silent Whisperer usually uses. So, repeater, torch, and redstone clock. You can adjust the delay with the repeater on the end. Sorry, repeater in the middle. I already added bone meal to the dispensers, so all I need to do in this scenario is add saplings. If you were to start using this farm though, I would recommend filling up the dispensers with bone meal and then putting any spare in the chest for the chest minecart to start loading into the farm. The clock is still a little fast for my liking, so I just am going to add another tick of delay. Alright, that's everything. I hope this tutorial was helpful for you. Feel free to put any questions you have down in the description, but for now, have fun.